Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast, brought to you in partnership with FootJoy. In today's episode, we sit down with Duncan McCarthy, he calls himself a mental coach. He is a psychologist, a golf psychologist who works on the PGA Tour, works with people such as Erik van Rooyen, Ashleigh Buhai, and a few other big names, and he's had some big wins on tour. So we travelled to Moortown to meet him, play with him. And we're going to have to apologise in advance for this one because it will be a two-parter because we just went on for so long with Duncan. So it's a fascinating podcast, and hopefully it gives something back to you guys and you can learn a bit that you can apply to your own game. So sit back and enjoy.
Watch this. No way.
So your dad was a bit of a gateway into golf then, really. So super young age.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a good amateur. He sort of played for England boys, and when there was a youth team as well, he did that. And then played for his county, and it's always been in his life. He moved down here to Moortown when he was 17 with his mum and dad from up north. And then we've always been involved in golf. But it wasn't my number one sport. I was always football and played to a good standard there. So I never really took golf seriously like I want to see how good I can get at this.
Yeah.
I had hand-eye coordination. I could pick a tennis racket up, do whatever, play many different sports, but I played golf just recreationally, really. And then kind of just grew from there. After
and just turned pro, didn't you?
I was kind of just knocking around, first team football captain, and then I just thought I might try play some golf. And
the Euro Pro. So you went on to the Euro Pro tour.
Right. We've been very blasé about this. Welcome to the podcast, Duncan McCarthy.
Thank you.
Who are you? What are you?
Yeah.
Why are we here? Where are we?
We are at Moortown Golf Club. We timed our round of golf really well today because the rain's coming down now. I'm a mental coach, work predominantly in golf with golfers, professional golfers now who kind of travel around and apply the trade. But been doing that, did sports psychology at uni and graduated in 2003 and then started really full-time sort of 2009 doing that and been doing it ever since. Really, And
before that, this is what I was giggling at, and then we did the introduction. You were a professional, which you kind of took to when you took to it quite late.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like it, this wasn't my number one sport. I was good at it and practiced a little bit. Played in your typical weekend comps. Played some junior comps at other clubs, and then played some scratch events and won a couple of those. And then after uni, I was still playing. Football was still my number one sport and playing a high standard there. And then last year, uni had an awful injury and just set 3 goals a year for 3 years after uni. I was working part-time to earn some money to fund it. And then I achieved all those and I was kind of like, oh, okay, right, I've actually done quite well. Nothing like England level or anything like that, but I thought, well, I spoke to a couple of people and they said, well, you're in your 20s, you're not going to get that back again. So why would you not do something that you want to do if you can? So I did that, turn pro, and then started playing Euro Pro. But then I was working with a couple of other players out there, and one of those players.
Oh, so you'd be playing and doing some work with them as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
how's that? Who'd you put first there?
I tell you what, I missed a few cuts. Yeah, when you miss a cut and your player's doing well, it's bloody hellfire.
It's between you and one of your guys. Like, I better let him go through.
And you wonder why I haven't got a fringe.
Poacher turned gamekeeper.
Yeah, unbelievable. So
how was that whole experience doing? Trying to play on the Euro Pro, because I think, without being disrespectful, Euro Pro is not really the destination that a lot of these people want to be.
No, it's a stop off.
And I can imagine that's a really challenging environment to apply your trade, and at the same time you've got this idea that you could do this other thing, which is how did that tell us about that whole journey?
Yeah, there's a lot that I look back on, and I won't bore you with the details, but there's a lot I look back on when I played and I was competing. There's a lot that I did wrong. There was a lot that I did wrong. I'm glad I did it wrong, because from doing something wrong, you potentially learn the right way to do it for you, not necessarily for everybody else. We're all individuals. But one thing I knew very early, my coaching days, when I was at uni, I worked part-time as a football coach for Brazilian soccer schools, Football de Salão. And talk about passionate, that still is the thing that I was just so passionate about.
Really?
Yeah, I loved it. And unfortunately, it didn't finish great, which was a shame. But then after uni, I was still doing it, and I was made sort of head coach of the Leeds school, which was, it was the biggest school in the world. And I loved that. And then got involved with one of our national teams, the Football de Salão national team. And I just loved helping someone. I loved seeing it was youngsters who we worked with. I had young kids coming up at the end going, "Oh, coach, what can I do in my own time? How can I get better?" And I love delivering that advice. So I think coaching's always been inside me, wanting to help people and in whatever it is. So that's always been there. And what I found that when I was trying to compete is one, I wasn't good enough to compete at the highest level, and that's okay. But two is that I got just as much fulfillment out of seeing other people do well and succeed and progress as I did myself, but there was less stress.
Yeah. You must see
there's a few strands I want to pull on. But just to clarify one of the latter points you said, and that's that you weren't good enough. Duncan plays 12 to 15 rounds a year. We've just teed it up with him around Moortown. Must have dropped one shot and had about 5 or 6 birdies. It was absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah,
it was a display of ball striking. It truly was.
Well, that was good golf for you today. You'd say you were happy with how you played.
Yeah, I did. But I played well. I played well. That's probably better golf for me. Definitely.
It's classic stuff, wasn't it? Just pick the bats up and...
Well, it's interesting because I don't want to delve into this too quickly because we talked about it on the way around, but it's interesting with the people who can just, just pick up the bats and play, and people that just grind at it and nothing changes, and it's kind of so demoralizing for the average golfer. Before we dive into that though, because I want to do that a little bit later. When you say you did something wrong and did stuff wrong when you were a pro, what is it you were talking about that you think you did?
Yeah, so before I decided to turn pro, I'd done okay I achieved what I set out to achieve with my goals. And that's really all that matters is your journey. It's not about other people. You can get into comparisons and stuff like that. And if you go down that route, you probably end up not doing anything or not taking any chances or getting out of your comfort zone. So I achieved what I wanted to achieve. And that took me to my crossroads, which was either turn pro and see what that journey is like, or don't do that and go into a job, basically, doing what I'm doing now. And before I turned pro, without sounding corny, I did it my way. I love playing golf. Like we were speaking about it before, I genuinely love playing golf out on the golf course with good company. And if I play well, that's a bonus. That's the icing on the cake. But bottom line is I enjoy being out on the course, playing, seeing different things, creating pictures, seeing if I can play to that picture, etc., all that. And I did a lot of that when I was amateur before. And it was like turning pro almost gave you this switch of, I have to be this way. I have to do this. I have to practice loads. I have to get the perfect swing. I have to do X, Y, and Z to get the ideal result. And that was just absolutely the opposite. That was not who I was. I'm not a person I can't concentrate for long periods of time. I fluctuate in and out. I can have extremely high focus when it's required. I struggle to get into a focus state. And I'm more kind of fluid than just bang, just do this. So I always struggle to be in one place for a prolonged period of time. And I know that now, and I've known it for quite a few years. And what I was doing when I turned pro is I'd try and start. I'm looking at the spot where I used to practice, actually.
Yeah.
It was a bit different, the range then, but it was more of a practice ground. You had your own balls and what have you. But I used to stand there and, oh my God, the amount of divots that you used to take and what have you in one spot. And it didn't deliver the best for me. But I did it because I thought, oh, that's what you've got to do.
Because you sort of forgot everything that got you to that point, right? And then thought, I suppose, when you play in just any tournament event, doesn't matter on what tour, there is a whole theatre that comes around a 4-day event, which is very different to anything you've experienced as an amateur. And it's like all of a sudden the rhythm of how you just go around golf and how you interact with the game right up to the first tee shot, it just changes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It does change totally. You know, you go into your performing arena. Everybody has a different performing arena they go into, and I think all of us on this planet, we have two sides to us. One is the person, which is more kind of like your private life, etc., and the person that you are, the human. But then you have your performing side. We all have jobs, roles to play, and we all have our respective performing arenas. And when you go into your performing arena, in golfing terms, it's the first tee, and you're in there until you walk off the 18th green, changes. So I'm a big believer in, and I might get into this later on, but regards to how you train, making sure that it's going to be reflective out on the golf course, because most people train easy and wonder why playing so hard. And I'm a big believer in flipping that.
What does that mean, train easy?
So I always look at it and go, we all have our comfort zones. Most people practice in the comfort zones. So an amateur doing it for a hobby will always pull out the favourite club. A lot of pros who are aspiring to be at the top level especially seem to walk off a range or off a chipping green or off out of a practice training session happy and like, oh, that was lovely, that was wonderful. It's like, it's not meant to be. It's not that you're meant to beat yourself up and give yourself a hard time, but you should walk away from there going, oh my God, I'm absolutely done in.
Yeah.
I'm knackered from focusing, etc. But most people they'll pick up the phone halfway through a session, they'll do this, they'll zone in and out. And I'm a big believer in that's going to be reflective in your performance, you know, and certainly, you know, I'm fortunate to work with some very, very good individuals now. And when you see how they go about the business, it's very, very different. So then you start to realize that this is not about talent. It's not about talent. Don't get me wrong. You need a degree of that, but the rest of it is how you apply daily.
I think you can, like, I played a decent enough standard of rugby when I was younger, and you guys were around golf when you were younger. I think we can all, everybody in every walk of life can remember when they played, and the best players never made it. You know, the ones who had the most talent, they never made it. Like, because I could pick half a dozen people that turned, you know, played international or whatever, and you knew people that were better when we were 11 or 12. It's just that there is a level of commitment that's required. Do you think they're born
They say
with
hard
it?
work beats talent when talent doesn't show up, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do.
It's just a level of commitment that is just required. Do you think people are just born with that skill? They just know how to just work, or do you think it's a learned thing?
I think you get some people who have hand-eye coordination and they know how to swing a golf club or kick a ball, etc. And you do have that, but beyond that, that's only going to take you so far. But what's beyond that? For me, if you want to be the best at something, you've got to have to work hard at it. And we live in a day and age now where working hard or hard work has been replaced with work smartly. And that's a common phrase now. And I'm all for that. I'm a big believer in that. You still got to put time and effort in. And it's those people who are willing to do that over a long period of time that tend to just improve bit by bit, 1% at a time. And it just notches up every month, another little improvement. Might not always be there in the results, but certainly in the process and how they apply themselves. And over a long course of time, they're the people who come up the blind side. Whereas you're always going to have kid stars.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the best at 12, 13 years old. You want to be still developing and learning certain skills in terms of, I would say, more life skills. You know, do you understand the importance of having a morning routine? Not because it's fashionable, but because the morning routine's an opportunity to get momentum going for you through the day. So the importance of that and applying yourself, making sure that before you arrive at the range or the putting green or wherever, or in the gym, before you get there, you know what your purpose is, and then applying that purpose so you walk out with a bit more fulfillment. And I think those are the skills that aren't not talked about, because I struggle with that. A lot of people do a lot of talking but don't apply, but they're not applied enough. And as much as, swing it to here, do this, this is your performing skill, this is what we want to do, chip it like this, put it like this, or kick a ball like this, whatever sport it is. People talk about those skills, but they don't talk about the skills around it.
Do you think, do you subscribe to the school that golf is a difficult sport because there's just so much time with your own brain? It's not like football is so reactive. You're constantly
stationary object.
You're constantly just chasing.
It's totally unique.
Yeah. 100%. There's not many sports like it. There's other sports where you have breaks in between performances, but you look at golf, and I had this a few years ago, a few times, quite a lot of times actually, especially with parents where they're like, hey, he or she won't concentrate from the first tee all the way around to the 18th green. I can't get them to do it. And I'm like, well, you go show me somebody who can do that and I'll applaud them. That's impressive. I've never met anybody who can concentrate for that length of time, and nor do we need to. We don't need to concentrate all that amount of time out on the golf course, but people fall into that, almost that hole of, I have to switch on and not switch off until I walk off 18.
Yeah. No, that intensity is too fatiguing.
It absolutely is. And golf is not. Golf is at the ball. It's hitting a white ball in a field that's generally really nice with 18 flags in it. That's what golf is. It's at the ball.
Nice field today.
Yeah.
It was a nice field today. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was a lovely field, absolutely. And so the first tee, there's golf. The first tee to the second shot, whether it's in the rough, whether it's in the fairway, wherever, that's not golf. That's walking from A to B. That's not golf. That just gets you to the next opportunity to go play golf. So then we look at that and we go, right, okay, so what's going to be important? Well, what would be important is almost a light switch situation of, okay, I'm on the first tee. It's my turn to play. Switch on. Right, let's engage.
You said this about Ashleigh Buhai, right? So, gave some pearls of wisdom on the 11th, but you break that down into we get to a point and then we go into process. Can you bring that to life a little bit for me?
Yeah. So, Ash is awesome. Just absolute pleasure to work with. And there's a lot of things that we've worked on and developed with her, the person and the performer. But in terms of the performer, it really was breaking it down to, look, we want to become world class at the golf ball. That's ultimately how you're going to move up rankings, win tournaments, etc. However, in between golf shots, we want to have good self-talk rather than self-listening, where you just listen to yourself babble on with negative chat and beating yourself up. So we do want to be good in between the golf shots. But when we're at the ball, it's about then engaging what I call the steps. So what are your steps? What's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, however many you have. And then it's not about being world class with all of those. It's about becoming world class with number 1 and then shift into number 2. And we always shut the door after each step, because if we leave the door open, doubt can follow us. Especially, we did a lot of work on the putting green with that, with the steps. So step 1, for example, would be, and this is what we sort of spoke about, step 1 would be, right, switch on with a focus, full engagement. And that would be decision making.
Make a really good decision.
Yeah, smart decision. Safe golf, number 1 is not fun if you're just doing it as a hobby. For the guys who play here on a Saturday, you want to take some shots on. If you're playing off 20 handicap, maybe pulling out a 3-wood and going straight at the pin, maybe not a great idea, but you might want to take some dog legs on. You might want to take a carry on. Have fun out there. Don't worry about the outcome.
But you're using it to consciously make a really good decision. This is about making really clear decisions.
Absolutely.
It could be aggressive shots at conservative targets, but it's like we're playing. Yeah, we're making that decision to play there, right? That is step 1. It's just, I'm only making a decision here. I haven't got to think about anything else around this.
What's the smartest decision here? Sometimes the smartest decision is trying to drive a par 4 green.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going for a par 5 in 2. Other times it's an iron off a par 5.
Yeah.
So make a smart decision. Let's do that really, really well.
And then you shut that door.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that done.
That's really interesting. Even just stopping there. I mean, I'd like to really focus in on my golf, if that's okay with you.
That's fine, yeah.
But no, and everyone's had this, but it just springs to mind from yesterday. It was par 3, into wind, pulled a club, and you stood over it, and you're like, not convinced this is the club, but you're like, I'll swing anyway because I'm here. That's like, you would say that store's still open. And it's like, I haven't committed to like, yes, I'm just going to play this shot now, whatever happens, happens.
Absolutely, yeah.
And how many people do that? Pull a club and they're like, I'm not sure, but I'm here now, so I might as well just swing. And
yeah, 100%. I was swinging to a player the other week about this. I was out with him in, he's from Malaysia. I was out in Malaysia with him. And we talk about, don't hit the golf shot because it's your turn to play. Hit the golf shot because you're ready to play. Yeah. There's a big difference between that. And so every great golf shot starts with a great decision. You know, you look at some of the best golf shots over time. They always start with a great decision. But then after that, we then want to be clear on what we're trying to do or what we're wanting to do. Most people aren't very clear. And I always, you know, you look at the brain, it's that computer system that we own that computer system. And all it requires is a clear message to be put into it. So program it with a clear message. I want to start it there and it's going to drop down to the right. Or I'm going to start it there and it's going to be a low trajectory and it's going to bounce and it's going to run in and then check up. Be clear with that intention. That's all it wants, is a clear message. But when we start standing there and we start going, oh, well, yeah, I want to hit it down there, but I don't want to go right. But then I don't want to catch it fat. Now the computer goes, well, what do you want me to do? I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, I mean, you're just basically just describing my brain. But
it sounds so easy, but then you put yourself
would
in.
Would you subscribe that to someone that is only really going to execute that 1 out of every 10 shots? Would you still say, you know, that I want to start it there, do this? Would you still say that process still matters?
100%, because it's giving you the best opportunity to execute a good golf shot. As long as you're consistent with that process, that will give you the results will align. But we live in a world, not just a sport, but in a world where we just hang on results. We hang on results. We want results now. We want them now. But the people who tend to succeed are the ones who go, they are going to come. Those results are going to come, but my process has to be consistent. And then you get into the area of controllables. What can I control out there? Well, I can control making a smart decision. I can control having clear intention. I can control how much commitment I give to this golf shot.
So that's number 3, commitment.
Yes, full commitment. So when you step into the golf shot, don't step in because it's your turn to play. Step in because you're ready to play. You've got clarity in here. You know what you want to do. Honor that clarity with commitment and let it go. Absolutely.
I love watching some players, like some of the best players. I think it's how they are around the golf shot. You know, they have like, you know, I always talk about like Brooks has that. He just has that feel of like confidence and swagger. There's some bravado around that golf shot. Like you get the sense he's walking up to that thing in control. I'm sure he feels differently day to day, but there is an element of that, right? Like it kind of jigs the system a bit to kind of go with you. It's like, I'm playing this with some confidence.
Absolutely. You know, it's talked about a lot now, but body language is huge. It has a massive impact on us. Changing your physiology, change your psychology. It's massive. You know, so having that body language of someone who knows that they're going to do a great job, you know, walking into a room with the shoulders back, the chin up, it gives you that level of confidence to sometimes do things that otherwise you might be a bit apprehensive to do or a little bit nervous about. So I would say to anybody, go out, play your first 9 holes with shocking body language. Go do it all wrong. Yeah. Just have the head down, shoulders forward, timid, not looking forward to it. Combine that with a bit of poor self-talk and just see how you perform. Not in results, but in your experience of playing, whether you're a pro or an amateur.
Golf is a frightening endeavour for most of the time, because the reality is that when you play 18 holes of golf, the objective is to be around par. It doesn't really matter who you are. That's the goal, isn't it? Because the course is par 72. Well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to go around in 72 shots? 98% of people don't go around in that score. So by definition of failing pretty much all the time. Yeah. So it's quite difficult to kind of stay motivated and keep body language up and think,
So it's much easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you've talked about there, Tom, is outcomes, results.
100%.
And
I'm a big outcome guy.
Yeah,
I'm a big outcome guy.
Aren't we all? There's a lot of things in life and in sport that if we can just get the right outcome, we actually, if we're brutally honest, we don't really care how we got there.
No.
As long as we got the outcome. That's ultimately it.
Yeah, you
isn't
can
it?
shoot a really scabby 72.
Well, we always have this thing at Blackwell.
Exactly.
Be like, I shot 72.
Yeah,
So every
exactly,
Saturday at
yeah.
Blackwell.
Here's one. If you had a hole in one off a top shot, would you be happy about it?
Yeah, because it's purely
100%
outcome.
all day long.
But we have this thing
I
at
can change the
Blackwell,
story
right?
in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
So on a Saturday, very often you'll have players with really good rounds through 14. Then 14, you turn back and you play pretty much 14. There's 5 par fours, all very difficult, all very demanding. You get through 14, you turn, you're sort of playing back towards the clubhouse. And me and another member at the club joke about this, but it's been like, I'm really focusing on my inputs. I'm focusing on my inputs all the way through 14. You've all of a sudden got a score in your hand, and then you'll just go, right, I just need 4 fours to finish this out. And it's like, I've just flipped from thinking how I'm playing the golf shots and all my inputs to then turning the corner and going, right, I just need four really good out. And it's like, it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
The wheels come off.
Absolutely. And all that's happened there is, you've played good golf up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Mainly because you're engaged in just the task. You were present. Out of the 3 places that we can go to mentally, past, present, future, your focus was present. It was, right, I'm here, let's go do a good job. Okay, do that again. And all of a sudden, and this, by the way, is a promise that I make to everybody I work with, I'm never going to stop negative thoughts. Never. They're always going to be there. It's just, do we jump on them or not? And what happened there, we are never going to stop going to the future. Just like you'll never stop having negative thoughts. You'll never stop flitting back to the past. And that, in a golfer's sense, that 3-footer you missed on the last.
That, or I duffed that.
That will always be there. Don't ever disillusion yourself with, if I can just get to that place where I don't think about the past or the future, it's always going to be there. My question is, how good is your relationship with the future? How good is your relationship with the past? Do you have great acceptance with the past? And do you have an understanding or a courage to let go of the future and just be where your feet are, basically? It's quite an old adage.
Well, we talked about resignation, didn't we?
Absolutely. Just letting go of the outcome. And I always remember with one of my players, we talked about kind of AOAO, acceptance of any outcome. Just AOAO it all the way around, acceptance of any outcome. By the way, acceptance doesn't mean you like it.
No.
It doesn't mean you like the outcome, but you're willing to accept it.
But if you play the shot with complete, and I think it's where Martin Ayres talks about it, just complete resignation. Like, I walk into this shot, there is a possibility I miss this golf ball. That is smaller or larger depending on who you are, but you play it with complete resignation, like, this could go in the hole or I could miss this golf ball.
Yeah.
There's any outcome is there, but I'm just going to give it my best shot. It's actually very liberating.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And it's, you take that. That's why I've always said this remarkable game that we're involved in is such a reflection of life, because people want to know the security of tomorrow in their life. Well, health, there's no security with it. We've seen very healthy people, unfortunately, get ill and pass away. And we've seen people who don't take care of themselves live till unbelievable ages. So where's the guarantee in anything in life? And it's the same in golf. There's no guarantee of an outcome just because you did everything well or did it right. There's no guarantee of that. So then we look at it and go, well, that's energy that I'm putting into something that actually could be better used elsewhere. So then you come back to your routine, your steps at the ball. Apply your energy there more. Just be clear on what your steps are, identify them, and that becomes your goal for the day. You want to shoot a good number. We all know that. I work with players who we know we want to win the tournament. We know that, but we don't have to keep talking about it or put a focus there. What we have to do is shift our focus from what's the outcome goal, what do we want at the end of it, to what's the process goal, because the process is the bit we can control. So making a smart decision and then having a clear intention, having quality commitment, and then be willing to accept all outcomes. We go out there and go, I'm going to go do these 4 things really well at the ball. That's my goal today. When I come off there and I go back into the car park, I'm going to ask myself how well I did those 4 things. A bit like what we were talking about before. One of my questions is, did I enjoy myself today? I ask myself that all the time walking off 18. Nobody would ever know that I asked myself that question, but every time I do.
And it's practical stuff, you know. Like I want to talk a bit more about the stuff on tour as well shortly, but like this is just practical stuff that anyone would use. We're not positively manifesting Open Championship victories here and hoping it in like winging a prayer. It's just like this is a framework of really good inputs. I mean, it's kind of topical. You've come back, you've covered in Arnold Palmer stash. So you're out there last week because you work with Erik van Rooyen and out there helping a little bit there. Obviously, there was this whole stuff on the recent Full Swing documentary series. I don't know if you managed to watch it on the plane.
Were you in it?
Pardon?
Were you in it?
No.
But there's that whole episode with Wyndham Clark and Joel Damon, and that kind of like, I suppose, two sort of completely different looks at, one player who's invested heavily in his approach to the mental game and that's yielded results. And Joel Damon is like, kind of having a very difficult time and not probably facing into the same thing in the same way. Do you see a lot of that on tour? Is it quite visible where there's cracks, or is everyone pretty bulletproof?
No, I think there's always areas that require attention. I always say there's no finish line with anything. Take something so simple in life as going to a gym. You're not going to go to a gym for, let's say, 2 months and be like, wow, I'm in the best shape of my life.
Complete it.
Yeah, completed it. I don't need to go anymore. Well, no, you've got to go the next day and you've got to keep doing it. There's no finish line. Well, there is a finish line in life, but there's no finish line to anything. So somebody who, and I think we spoke about, I forget who it was with, out of the two of you, but we spoke about reading a book, on the psychology of golf or improving your mental golf. Off the 11th, right. Yeah, and reading a book, wonderful. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, nothing. I've read the book. Oh, well, all the best with that. I hope it works out for you. And that's where there's a breakdown with amateurs. They think that reading a book is enough, but if I say to them, okay, that's no problem, I'd like you to read a book on how to swing a golf club, but you're not allowed to go to the range and work on it, they'd be like, well, that's not going to work. Correct.
Well, it's like reading a brief history of time and then going operating CERN.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely. But the breakdown is just not understanding how to develop it and how to work on it. Whereas I think that people who do it for a living, the tour players, some of them get that. They understand how to implement it on a daily basis. It's the job, so they have to prioritize it. Whereas for somebody with a hobby, they just want to rock up on a Saturday and play the best they can, and they see that the swing is more of a priority maybe than the mental game. But what I look at is going, well, okay, look at your own performance and ask yourself, measure yourself. Where would you grade yourself with each of those areas? Mental performance, physical and technical.
How difficult is it when you work with top-end professionals that get paid to play golf to disassociate performance with self-worth, self-value?
Yeah, good question. What you do and who you are should always be two separate things. But it's very easy for them to become the same because it's not just a job to them. It's a passion. And it's on display for the whole world to see. I see how Erik does every week, it's exactly. And the thing is, Tom, that you will see and everyone else will see his result. They'll see a 2-digit number. They'll see a 2-digit number or maybe a 1-digit number in where he finished in the field. You'll see a number of where he is in the world rankings. That's what you'll see. You'll see it where he is in the FedEx. So you'll see the outcome and judge him on that. We all do it, by the way, and I've always said it says more about the person judging than the person being judged. So don't judge. But we all judge. Yeah. We all make judgments about certain things, and it's kind of been built in us over years. But we just have to become a little bit more aware of that, especially if we believe that we're being judged by our results, because the results don't always stack up to the performance, and the performance is out there. And that's where we'll always look at it. Yes, we acknowledge results. We want to learn from them. We want to celebrate them as well. I don't think we celebrate them enough in this country. We seem to find a way to push people back down. Whereas other countries and other areas of the world, they really thrive on that. Australia, US come to mind.
Really? There's a different culture around building people up
success
rather than down.
Yeah, they celebrate success. Whereas here, time and time again, David Beckham, what he went through, his documentary was out recently. That was brutal what happened.
Yeah.
There's been countless sports people where they've just been banged back down. So the results are important because they give us an indication of what's maybe going on in the performance, but we don't necessarily have to look at results every single time. Give them an opportunity to build up and create a bit of a pattern. But it's really important that we do distinguish who we are as a person and who we are as a performer, because they should always be kept separate.
Is that hard?
I think it's harder for certain people. Some people have got a very natural balance with that. Other people have worked at it. And other people, unfortunately, get swallowed up by it. And they don't have
social
that
media a difficult beast doing what you do?
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah.
For the players, because they see this stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, there was something last week that was nothing to do with a player, and it was sent to them, and it was just like...
Can you share that example?
No. And it was... But even something so innocuous like that, you're like, oh my God, you're literally just laid open to that world. And you have to become thick-skinned. You have to be really thick-skinned and be engrossed in your team and clear on what you're doing on a daily basis. But also, I think, make sure that you have a life away from your job. That's really important. And I speak about that a lot with my players and my clients, that rest is very, very undervalued by so many. Yeah.
You're saying this with Mel Reid, you were, one of the things that you've kind of been doing there is actually time to reflect and be away from the game.
Yeah.
Rather than just digging balls out all the time.
Absolutely. And I'm blessed to work with some great people as well as performers. And, Mel is as hard a worker as there is. There's a lot of hard workers out there, but she's exceptional. But you have to be very aware of that, because with that hard work ethic comes less time for rest, less time for recovery, less time for living life. And I want the people that I'm engaged with to, succeed in the job, but I want them to succeed in the private lives as well. I want them to succeed with the wellness and the health of themselves. And that for me is a true high performer, when you're doing those three things well. So we want to win on the golf course, but I want her to have a healthy family life. I want her to have time for her and to grow herself as well. So time on course is important, but time off course is equally important. And you need to create that window of opportunity to go, I'm doing nothing. I had a player yesterday ring me, and he's got a few weeks off now and what have you. He's got something wonderful coming up in his private life, and he just sat there and he's like, I'm so bored. I've only been home for a bit. I'm so bored. I'm like, yeah, good. You need to get used to doing nothing just for a little bit, because nothing is no thing broken down for me. And I'm like, you're always busy when you're away. So then you go press pause and your brain can't compute that. It doesn't like that. It needs to be doing something.
You need to be comfortable being sat still for a period.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of players who
sleep as well, all that stuff is.
Yeah, sleep's
a beast, isn't it? There's a one of the leading CrossFitter in the world said that if sleep wasn't natural, it'd be banned. It's like an illegal drug. It's so good for you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. If it wasn't what you're supposed to do, it'd be banned. It's so good.
Yeah. It really helps. Like me when you were driving up to Moortown last night, I was so tired. Honestly,
very tired. But I imagine with all your guys and girls, they're on the road so much. Sleep's not easy.
No, it's not. And there's so many commitments. The better you do it, well, not just in this sport, but in anything, there's more commitments coming at you. People want more of your time, which is a good thing. But then you need to manage new things coming into your life, and you still need to make time for yourself. It'll be sponsor commitments, on-course, off-course sponsors, other commitments with tournaments, maybe stuff like that, media, all that. And that's
Rory's committed to the hilt, isn't he? It's like when you look at how much he has to squeeze into weeks like this, with players and stuff. That's like, wow. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. And your time management, but also your energy management is absolutely critical, and making sure that you're not depleting your energy before the tournament even starts, let alone having energy on a Sunday afternoon when you've got a chance of winning. And that's something we talk about a lot is, energy management is such a big thing. Your calendar kind of takes care of the time management. When you put something and you make that commitment, it kind of takes care of itself. But then you need to manage your energy. And you don't want to be fresh on a Thursday. You want to be fresh on a Sunday afternoon when you've got a chance of winning. And I think that that's important, to be able to shut yourself off and go, right, I'm not giving my energy to other people, or I've not got eyes on me, because these players at the top level, they have eyes on them all the time. All the time. It's frightening. And that
Scheffler, that must be quite tiring. You know, obviously he's gone through that last few weeks and stuff, and, you know, recent win. But that must be exhausting to spend a lot of time thinking, God, my putting is really on like maximum focus. Like it couldn't be under sharper
when
focus.
Zalatoris had that sort of weird pulley takeaway, and he was still, they were all going, no, they weren't all going in the hole, but most of them were going in the hole, and everyone's going, God, looks awful. And that's all you're reading. And that can't be helpful for
it must be really hard for them to play.
Yeah, especially on social media. I mean, the stuff that don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good to it, but there's a lot of bad as well. And you get a lot of the, you know, like your keyboard warriors and stuff, and you can just type something flippantly.
Yeah.
And it's there. It's done. Players read that. Players see that. Yeah, not all of them, but the ones that I know of, they'll read it, and they might not share how they feel. But I tell you what, it'll have an impact.
Gio was saying many moons ago that what happens with all these players, they were really good, obviously, because they turned pro. So they were really good. And on the way up, they read that stuff because it's like, Tom Mills is amazing. He's going to be the next Tiger Woods. And you read all that stuff because it's nice. But then you've become attached to reading that stuff. And when you're not playing very well, you're still reading it.
It has the same effect when it's like, negative.
Oh God, now all the people that I really liked reading before are now saying I'm crap. And
it totally changes. And you go back to when you start your professional career. You start your professional career because most of the time in your amateur career, you're on the way up. So you've only really known success. But now you're in a new fish pond. Now you're with some big fishes, and you need to learn to swim fast, or else you're going to get eaten. So then you do that, and you get some who have success straight away, like Aberg. Come straight out, bang. How many of those are there out there? There's not many at all.
He's a unicorn, isn't he, really? I mean, unbelievable talent. I mean, his career is going to be exceptional to watch. It's going to be so fun. But for one of him, there's hundreds, thousands of other ones who decide to take that leap into the new fish pond and are trying to swim, and they might not. Justin Rose, 23 cuts, wasn't it? He missed. That?
I tell you what, I mean, I saw him last week, and every time I see him, I'm like, I always remember that. I'm like, fair play to you. You know, what you went through internally, probably as well, is incredible. And look at the career that he's had. Yet look at how his career started.
Huge longevity as well.
Yeah. And by the way, he finished fourth as an amateur in the Open Championship at Birkdale.
Right, remember, he holed out.
Was he 16 years old?
He holed out. Yeah.
Holed out in the last, didn't he?
Was he 16?
I think he could be right there. He could have been 16. Yeah, he could have been. So you look at that, and there's your child prodigy. Everything's just aligned for him to be a phenomenal golfer. Turns pro, goes into a new fish pond. And not because he didn't have the talent or the work ethic or anything, just didn't have the results.
But with social media and everything now, that if you had that happen this year would just be crazy. Like that, because the noise around that. Whereas back then it was a bit more not quite.
Do you tell your guys to stay off it? Would you advise that?
I tell them to manage the time and energy with the phone. Yeah.
You don't like them using it mid-practice, do you? I remember you saying that to me earlier. No. You were like, some of these guys will just go and check the phones halfway through a session.
Yeah, I don't like it. I pick up on it. Sometimes I don't mention it. And I just go, oh, okay, that's interesting. I'll mention it when it's right.
Tell him off later.
Yeah, you're going to get a right shoe in. But no, it's not for me to tell people what to do at all. I'm here to support and advise. And if you want to take that on board, fine. If you don't, no problem. But one of the big things of my job is not what I say, but when I say it, it's the timing, knowing when to say something, when to say a line, when to not say something. So I'm not one of those just to jump on something because I got the phone out and what have you, but it does tell you where they might be at when you're not there. Because if everyone's on a heightened sense when they've got somebody in the team around them, so they try and do things a little bit better whether they know it or not. So then I see that and go, interesting. If I'm not here or somebody else isn't here and you're by yourself, how much are you actually on it? And that's when I'll broach that subject and go, how's your phone time been recently? And then I'm fortunate that I work with a lot of good people who don't sugarcoat it. They just tell you the truth. And they go, actually, I'm sick of having it in my hand all the time. And I'm like, oh, right, okay, maybe we just schedule a bit of time when you get back to the hotel room, you get back to your Airbnb and put your phone in the cupboard.
And that is where we're going to leave part 1 of the podcast with Duncan McCarthy. In part 2, we delve much more into the psychology of the amateur game, how we can take some of the ideas he has about pre-shot routines and how you mentally get into a state ready to hit a shot, and the difference between outcome-driven goals and process-driven goals, and all these different bits that are really useful for the amateur golfer. So until next time.
Watch this.